Okay, well, here's what's going to be an interesting situation. Daenerys returns defeated. Now, I had to use some like still shots of certain scenes from the original Game of Thrones, so this way you can better visual aid of what's going on here. To give it a little more, as I call it, realism. The look on her face, the things that she's going through. Because again, this was a great defeat, because she had the throne for 3 days, and this is something that she didn't expect. But she accepts the fact that perhaps she acted hastily because, one, you don't take Dothraki or a savage people anyway. And it's not like she could command the Dothraki to obey her because, again, granted she may be a supreme queen, but again, the Dothraki are a proud, fierce people. And she knows this because of the fact that she was married to Drogo. And so, with them and what have you, to them it's just a normal thing. They had a legend that, based on the research I did, that like if of course it's daytime, they can't see it, But if they could see this red wanderer, it was like stated by legend that women would be stolen and mated with. And so perhaps, even though it was daytime, they didn't see the wanderer. Perhaps that is why the Dothraki did what they did. But nevertheless, it was too much discussed by the other kingdoms, and it just gave her a very bad reputation. So what you're going to find out here then is that not only she has to protect the two dragons she has, because the dragon she rides obviously is a little bit smarter than the other two dragons, but is not going to go into danger intentionally. The other two dragons, of course, not being as smart, but will follow the largest one, of course, get locked up again, and they're not very happy about this. Um, but she doesn't want them killed because while these strangers in strange armor and clothing who have worked with the other kingdoms had the upper hand, what could she do? She's not going to send her dragons to their death. So she has no choice but to lock them up. So, in any case, looking ahead now, because it's going to be about this prophecy now, she gets to meet a cool, well, that's my interpretation. As a very cool actor. I am very pleased with his acting abilities as Gandalf the Grey, and then he became Gandalf the White. And what better actor than to be the palace visionary? Because he always speaks words of wisdom like he did in Lord of the Rings. And it gives her new hope. He doesn't speak right away, right first, because first he has to have the vision. In the next episode, he will speak to her. And so looking ahead, I wanted to share a funny moment because this was like something that I had visioned, and I actually practiced the scene line. It's like, how do you explain to a mother dragons that you're smoking a cigarette? I mean, seriously. In her world, they don't do such things because this definitely defines the difference between a Targaryen and a human. So I was like, okay, for me being the human character, okay, now, yes, I did wear palace clothes. I'll have to probably rewrite a little bit of it on the motion picture because while I have my rucksack, and yes, it was nice that she gave me dry um, clothing to wear when I had my United Federation's Army uniform, which was strange to the world because planet Earth is more advanced than hers. Um, I had put on my blue jeans, okay, and they're a nice tight fit. My butt shows off real nice. And of course, this also becomes attraction to Daenerys Starborn because, again, I'm wearing strange clothing, but not a uniform this time. It's like she's never seen men of her world wear such strange clothing. So here I have these tight jeans on, and I'm wearing human clothing. And I'm standing on this balcony because I had to go through this meeting room, and probably I should have asked permission. So she was a little perturbed about that, but she did say I had free reign of the palace, but she didn't really restrict me as to where I should and should not go. But she's okay with it. She doesn't really um, like corner me on it. And again, this is from the motion picture miniseries, The Lost Pages of Time. And so you can imagine the scene. Okay, here I have this Zippo lighter, right? And it's like, her dragons breathe fire. And I like this long thing. And she sees me blowing smoke. So now remember, symbolism is going to be everything. And I will touch you on this again in the motion picture. And she has this grin on her face. It's like, okay, symbology here. You must be the male dragon. That's probably what she's thinking. And I kind of flirt with her intentionally, but still a little bit afraid because she's a queen, and she senses that I'm afraid. So, I don't really try to come on to her because that's probably not a good idea. I'm the only human in her world. But at the same time, she'll tell me later when I cover it in the motion picture that she didn't want to scare me off either because of her status compared to me, a mere mortal human. Um, the only human in her world, actually. And so I give her the lighter. And she likes this. I'm giving her another human gift that you'll never find in her world. And I explain to her how it lights, and I'll go into better details when the time comes. Um, So I'm smoking this cigarette, right? I'm standing at this like solid wall that's like she has stood at the Pyramid Palace. Now it's not the very high up balcony because it's like, well, it's like a lower part balcony, but it's enough to where you can still see details of people walking down below. And so I'm just like, having a good time, having a smoke. Because I mean, everything has happened so fast to me, as a human. I can't get back to my world of Earth. I wake up, find myself naked because somebody stripped my clothes off. Probably Miss Sandy, her handmaiden, or somebody. I know I was unconscious from the cold because my uniform was soaked, or floating out in this what do they call it? The Slavers Bay area, which I don't come to realize that that's the name of it until I go through these class lessons to be groomed into knowing her laws and stuff like that. And we humans have again our habits, and I have to be careful because this is why I freak out, because it's like, well, she could take it as symbology. I come to her world to set the place on fire. That could be my own undoing. She's not going to allow somebody from another world to burn her world up. But this is what a human would think. And so I like flick the cigarette butt over the balcony. I'm about to walk away. I'm like, oh crap, what did I just do? And I'm like frantically got my hands on both the reins. I'm looking left, right. Where'd the dang thing go? Well, apparently there was these two slavers that she had freed long ago. And I guess they're still like refugees. They haven't really had a chance to build their own place. And they're looking down at their feet. And so I imagine that the cigarette butt, like, oh my God. I'm sorry, it is so funny. I visualize the cigarette butt lands at their feet, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, what are they gonna think? They look up at me, and here I am, this strange human. Okay, I'm only 5'9", so obviously I'm not as tall as the men of our world. I'm like, okay, and I wave at them. They look at each other kind of oddly and back at me, and it's like, okay. They wave at me, and I'm like, oh gosh, that was so stupid. How could I do something so dumb? And I slap my forehead, and I was like, I will never do that again. So it was quite the scene that I had practiced. So yeah, I could actually visualize this, because again, as this human, I do dumb things that you just don't do in Daenerys Stormborn Targaryen's world, because um, it's like later on in Game of Thrones 2, Khaleesi's dragon spirit. She even tells when he gets to meet the Dothraki for the first time, you have to be careful because even a nod of the head or movement of the hand, the Dothraki can take it as meaning something. Well, even though in her world it's not as extreme as what the Dothraki would consider, it's still the very gesture that I did that could be my own undoing, because people are never seen things like this. And it's just something. If you're stuck in another alien world, but you're the alien because you're the only human on this world that's 3 to 5 times bigger than Daenerys Stormborn's world, it's like, you make the wrong gesture or something, and they're going to take that to meaning something, in even if your intentions weren't bad. And it's like, wow. I mean, I could almost experience the breeze and blow my face. It's a nice sunny day, and here I did this dumb thing, flicking the cigarette butt over the railing. I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? And I was like freaking out. And I think I played that role pretty good. So this is one of those funny moments I just had to share for things to look forward to. In episode 3, there is a prophecy of 2 comets foreseen. This is a palace visionary, though Daenerys never, during all the time of the Game of Thrones, consulted in him. He had always been in service to the Queen anyway, whenever he should be called upon. This vision causes him to be in such a trance that it is quite powerful, and he has to sit down to keep from falling down. And he sees something that has to do with 2 comets, one large red, one small blue. he feels that this is something of great importance, and that since he has given word that Daenerys is on the way back from King's Landing by force, this is something he has to inform her about. Meantime, um, a guard that she used to have sexual relations with, because she broke it off with him, foresees this as an opportunity to possibly get back in the chamber and in her bed to comfort her. And what he doesn't realize is that this actually may not happen. But again, being a man of her world, who men have always wanted her, he waits for the opportunity to maybe have his sexual thrills with her, because then she can finally marry him, or at least that's what he thinks. As it goes into chapter 2, the kingdom of Lannis is now valid and inherits Winterfell by decree of the Bolton uncle, who is king. This decree becomes confirmed by all the realms of the kingdom, and of course is not much of a threat anyway, because it doesn't involve the claim to the Iron Throne of Swords. Then it switches back to the scene where everybody disembarks from the ships, as though they are refugees. Such a humiliating and degrading way for a supreme queen to foresee things. She could ride her dragons, but she just doesn't do so, because she has a sensation that by her mere presence walking with the people, she has nothing to ride or celebrate anyway. The dragons, of course, do follow, and she reflects on a scene where one of the dragon slayers, a female, tells her that as she walks what is called the trip of tears through the desert back to Mareen, that she is nothing, and that she can easily take her life by merely cutting her like a fish from navel to neck, because she has to hide behind dragons, for if she was a true warrior, again, more insulting remarks to her, that she would learn how to use a sword and be a warrior like her. So therefore she is nothing, and wants to take her life. But she is forbidden this, in much respect and without dishonoring her, by the king of the Lannis house, because he has already made the pact that she would not be humiliated as much if she leaves freely and takes the dragons with her, and they will keep this from the history books. So to save at least some of her dignity without anything being put in there, because of the sensitive royal politics that would be involved should anything be put in history books of this great defeat for her, but a great victory for King's Landing and all the people who have suffered because of her approach in the way she did. Then the command leader of the Dragon Slayer tells her that if she doesn't lock up her two dragons or find a way to contain them, they will kill them. She knows that he's not bluffing. And so she decides, once they get back to Mareen, to lock them up. In the meantime, there is a sworn promise of Winterfell made at Red Dragonstone by Sansa that it is not all over, but they cannot do anything themselves. They have to wait for the right moment, and when they hear of some uprising, they must try to regain themselves and take back that which is rightfully theirs. They just don't know when. So this discussion continues, and then one final scene shows Daenerys sadly trodden, defeated, humiliated, and degraded, entering the palace with tears in her eyes, because this is the greatest loss that she could have ever experienced. She then, before getting settled into the Marine Palace, does have the two dragons follow her, and she locks them up, as she had done before, because she loves her dragons, does not want them harmed. Then, of course, the dragons aren't happy, and again, once they show anger at this, and of course, she has to duck around the corner quickly to keep from being fried by them, because the dragons would see this as some type of treachery in their own state of mind, being dragons. So it then ends the scene where she looks over the balcony at the Marine palace of Mareen, tears in eyes, and feeling as though part of her has died. She does not know how to handle this because this is the greatest loss and defeat that she has ever had, and she's never lost in such a way. And thus ends episode 3. Now, some people might think, well, but yeah, and she's supposed to be coming out the hero in this, and that's why they ended it in scene 8. Well, see, this is where my creativity, thanks to Emilia Clarke, came in, because I found a lot of loopholes that could lead for an extension on the story. And it's like, through her great acting skills, it's like, well, what if a human came into her world? Would she fall in love with a human, though he's low in stature? Obviously, she's going to be much stronger than this human, because only Tyrion, at the time when she was away on whatever business she was on, or at least surrounded by these Dothraki at the time, and she had to walk out of this building on fire totally naked, which was quite the scene. I loved that. That was pretty cool, because again, fire can't burn her. Well, Tyrion, is trying to crack jokes with Missandei and Grey Worm, and they mentioned the word which should make people, fans, wonder. Now, wait a minute. If you've done the research like I have, because I don't just watch the series, that's why one of the reasons I got the Dean's List 4 times, because I'm quite the researcher. I watch the series, but I go online too, and I dig up things that are key notes. It's just how I built the scenes here. So it's like, why would Tyrion say something, oh, but that would be inhuman? Well, he's not human. I mean, because the research on the internet said that it has been proven, in theory, that the world they're on is 3 to 5 times bigger than Earth. Well, you can't have more than one Earth. Okay, first, that would be contradiction, ridiculous, and forgive me for saying so, totally stupid. You don't have more than one Earth. Okay, second, why would even Grey Worm mention something about the word human? So you have to look at it from the standpoint then that as much as humans in the world of small world, blue world, um, which William will tell her when they start trying to break this language barrier when he arrives in her world, that he is of the legends of old, a dark blue star that shines brightly in the Valyrian night sky, because he knows she's Valyrian. Or at least at first he won't know the word Valerian until she and him get to know each other better. But as they get better in language in the motion picture, then he mentions the word Valerian, because he is now Dragonspear. And so it's like, as much as the world that he came from, to which he can never go back, um, there's legends about, or in theory anyway, that there could be other worlds with other life forms on it. Now, yes, there has been like the Roswell, New Mexico, USA incident of UFOs and what have you. But what if there was also worlds that are not as advanced as planet Earth? They might have a higher IQ. Um, they could be bigger. They could have a higher intellect than humans, but they're not yet advanced. And so, for seeing this in my creativity, it's like, so what if a human became the alien in their world? Now, of course, we humans, we would have to look at it from our standpoint, because we're the Stargate pilot before it became a series, Stargate SG-1. Okay, they go to this world, how it turns out. They come out and they see these 3 moons above a pyramid. Well, they're on an alien world, but you're looking at it from the eyes of our humanity. You're on this alien world. But this is where we get to switch now. Instead of stereotyping someone from another world, you got to look at it from the mother of dragons' eyes, okay? The mere fact that the word human was mentioned is probably because there's legends of a race that could be considered humanity. They don't know anything about Earth, so probably Earthling would be like beyond them. That's not something that they would hear of until William, this human, who is somewhat frail, low in stature, but catches the eye of Daenerys Stormborn, because there's nobody else like him. And her uncle later on in the quadrilogy somewhere will tell her, well, yeah, you've always been known to taking care of your pets. And so, again, you have to imagine how this human feels. Like, what am I, a dog or something, But, it's kind of like you got to put yourself partly in her shoes, and then you also got to look at it from his standpoint. Wow, I'm a pet. Well, so it's not like she's patting me on the head or put a dog collar or a leash on me. Not that they would know what that is, because you don't believe in slavery. And collars and chains would probably be the bad symbolism there, because she freed slavers. So it's like he becomes her pet. Now, that doesn't mean she goes to mate with all her pets, but this pet here of hers, a human, who is the actual alien in her world because there's no one else like him. She knows he can't go back because some catastrophic event he mentioned, like a gateway or a vortex. And so he's got no choice but to spend the rest of his days in her world. And come the motion picture narration, it'll go into better detail about, okay, he could die a lonely life, but there's some kind of sexual attraction that, as much as I hate being graphic, she has to this human, and eventually she will do to him like she did to this one guard knight that entered her chambers wrongfully, because she's never seen a naked human before. I mean, she has her sexual curiosities. You know, does this human have a pull and two stones in the right area? Um, what does this pull and two stones look like? Is he someone that she could actually get much pleasure from? Maybe even procreate or mate with this human. What kind of babies would they have? I mean, because you got to imagine, Daenerys Stormborn is a very strict queen. She's not one you want to tick off. But she, like when she would be in her world's time period called her teenage years, is one of much curiosity. She'll be asking him questions that she kind of delights in because he turns three shades of red, because how do you explain to a full grown woman, let alone a queen, how a human man mates with a woman? So she's going to have many, many, many questions for this human when he arrives. And she's going to almost take great pleasure and stimulation of how he's trying to explain to her that he has to stick his pole inside of a human female to get her pregnant. You can imagine how nerve-wracking that would be. Oh my gosh. It's like, and she knows this and she will sense this, and she's going to take much delight in the torment that this is putting him through, because she wants to know. I mean, you don't disobey queen. If she asks you a question, you have to answer. So she knows she has him wrapped around his finger. She wants to learn about this human man. So this is just some things to think about. There's some riveting experiences that's going to come up in the motion picture. It'll seem slow at first. There's only one part that's action, but it's going to get a lot more into the romance that builds and some erotica, because again, she's wanting to explore this person who's an alien in her world. Because he's not like the men of her world. He doesn't try to pursue her. She has great admiration and respect for this. And so it's like a human's way of playing hard to get. But whatever Daenerys Stormborn wants, she usually pursues, and she always gets what she wants. With the exception, of course, the loss of the Iron Throne, because she made the mistake of using the fierce tribe of Dothraki. But 99% of the time, if she wants something and she goes after it, she's going to get what she wants, because that is the way she is. She rules her position, as a human would say, with an iron fist. So she's not going to let this go. She's going to get her answers one way or another. So it's something to look forward to when the motion picture comes up.